I think over a year ago, we were talking about the dengvaxia vaccine. And dengue is a problem in the Philippines, but there was a problematic vaccine. Here's what the report looked back. This is what it looked like back then. Dengvax vaccine.
Outrage and fear in the Philippines. The government is stopping sales of dengvaxia, a vaccine for dengue, after warnings that the drug could actually make the disease worse.
The whole problem started with bad science. That's the root of the problem.
It's been used on over 700,000 children. The World Health Organization first flagged problems with the vaccine back in July of 2016, warning that it might not work, and worse, could put some even more at risk of a severe infection.
There were strong signals of the possibility of harm.
Sanofi only made its concerns about the vaccine public last week.
It's an issue of whether patients had previous dengue infection or not. So that signal was ignored.
One local NGO claims that 3 people have died from the vaccine, but Sanofi says there have been no fatalities at all.
Every time a vaccine fails, you're going to have to come to the high wire to get the news. And in fact, this was a terrible incident. Over 100 people have now been killed by the dengvaxia vaccine. And I can't imagine, first of all, this is a forced vaccine program. These people had no choice. They were told this was safe. And now people are dying because of it. This is the reason we question vaccines. You understand? People say it's dangerous, Del. Do you realize the harm you're doing questioning vaccines? Do you really want to live in a nation where they just try their next vaccine on you and it just kills like hundreds of you? And well, hey, that's the way it goes. That's progress. That's why we're here. We need to always have choice. We can't give in to the government controlling our bodies. Well, in the middle of the Philippines is a fantastic doctor. She spoke out against the dengvaxia vaccine. She has been doing miraculous things with cancer and other issues like that. This is Farrah Agustin Bunch.
I'm Dr. Farrah Agustin Bunch. I'm a medical doctor in Phil. I'm a phytoscientist, I'm a philanthropist, environmentalist.
So we know that our immune system has to be very strong. And if we put foods that are crappy, it will decrease our immune system.
I wanted to make a change. I wanted to help other people.
The flu-like symptoms have already disappeared. That's the magic of natural medicine.
And being healthy is actually not just my responsibility, it's actually the responsibility of all of us, of the entire community. Dr. Farrah is not all about treating cancer patients or other degenerative illnesses. Dr. Farrah is all about reaching out to the community.
Hindi kami ibalita kay Dr. Farrah na yung binigay mo gamot sa amin ay maganda.
Something coming from the Philippines, a natural medicine, and bringing it outside the world, that's something that, for me as a Filipino, we're very proud of.
Honorably present this certificate of recognition to Dr. Farrah Agustin Bunch.
There's really something to natural medicine, and I vow that I will protect natural medicine with all of my heart.
All right, I'm here with Farrah Agustin Bunch. You were in the middle of that. I mean, it's one thing to watch these things on the news and see it, and it sounds horrific. How many people have died now so far?
Well, with the dengvaxia, it's actually 116 confirmed deaths right now, and these are confirmed through autopsy. So they died of neurotropism, just like what you were telling your viewers. It's like a type of encephalopathy as well. And they had viscerotropism. They also had multi-organ failure. So those are the causes of why this patient died.
Remind me again, what is the problem with the vaccine? There's something to do with whether you've been previously infected or we're going to be infected again. What do they define was the issue with giving that vaccine out?
Well, I'm not really comfortable about that because I never really believed that if you have a previous infection with dengue virus, that you will have a more severe reaction to dengvaxia. I never really believed that because there's just so many there's so many dengue viruses in Phil. There's so many incidents there. So I really did not believe that if you have a primary, secondary, or tertiary exposure to a virus, that you will have a more severe dengue.
You just think the vaccine was just dangerous?
Yeah, I always thought it was dangerous. I was just emotional because when I saw all of the videos of me, it's actually the first time I saw it.
So you work with children, you work in clinics, right, where children come in. Have you've been out in the community? What happened when you spoke out against dengvaxia? I mean, you were fairly vocal about that, right?
Well, I was just doing my best, I wanted to help a lot of Filipinos because the Filipino community, especially in the Philippines, they're very, very poor. And when I saw that there were a lot of victims, that there were a lot of children that were really being harmed by dengvaxia, I said that I just spoke out. I had a lot of people talking to me. I had a lot of patients. I had a lot of moms who said that their children had severe reaction to the dengvaxia. And what can I do? What can I do, Del? I just have to do what is the best that I can do. I told them vitamin C can help. And then I told them that ginger can help as well, and horsetail. And after that, everyone was just so upset with me.
Is it hard in the Philippines to speak out as a doctor? I mean, you are a doctor, correct? You're not a naturopath or?
No, I'm a medical doctor. It was difficult because the accepted convention of treatment there is actually medicine, like the medicine here, and I'm not a naturopath. I'm a medical doctor. And for me to say something against what is acceptable, like the standard of treatment, which is vaccination, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and to speak out something that is not the acceptable. And everyone was chastising me. Everyone was just upset with me.
So what happened? You spoke out against dengvaxia. You've been using some of your own techniques, which we'll get into, dealing with cancer. Are you still living in the Philippines?
No, actually, I received a lot of death threats. Majority of them is according to NICA, which is like an FBI here in the U.S. They said that it was from the FDA, one of the highest people there in the FDA who were threatening my life. So I have to uproot all of my family members, my children who are 5 and then 4 years old, and then my eldest, and then my family. I have to leave all of my patients behind and just go to a foreign country, learn their language, learn all of the things. It's just so foreign to me, all of it, because I'm just living in Phil. It's a third world country. It's very poor. And I was perfectly happy there. I didn't know. I was shocked. I didn't know how to feel. It's like someone was pushing me, and I was terrified.
What were they saying to you? Did they tell you why? What was the issue they had with you? Did they say because you're doing this, this, and this, you're in trouble, or was it just random threats?
Well, this is it, Del. I'm not a typical doctor in Phil. But I was a medical doctor. I was trained there. And then what I did was that I wasn't happy with the conventional treatment. I wasn't happy about how I treated acute and chronic illnesses using synthetic medication. So what I did was that I invented a lot of natural medicine, dedicated to natural medicine. In fact, I have 21 inventions under my belt.
Wow.
For natural medicine. So I invented this, and then these doctors, they started talking amongst themselves. It's like, what is she doing, Why is she doing like this? Without even talking to me, like, Doctora, what's happening? What are you doing? Why are you doing this, And what is your success rate? No one did. Instead, what they did was that they had all of these societies, 5 medical societies, who ran after me. They tried to oust me with my profession. They went to the Philippine Professional Regulatory Commission. They tried to remove my license so I cannot practice anymore. They went to the Department of Health, and then finally they went to the FDA. Now, I cannot understand the FDA. I cannot understand it because I have always been compliant with what they told me. Okay, with the FDA, you have to have a license to operate as a food manufacturer, and I did that. As a scientist, you have to have a license. I did that. Now, with your products, you have to all register them. Now, the thing is, because of their red tape, and it was just, the process was just so long, you know. Now, all of my paperwork, it got expired. And that time, when I was reapplying again, that's the time that they hit me. They had 50 policemen. 50 policemen who came storming into my facility and then scaring all of my patients. And that's what the FDA did to me.
Did they take things? Were they coming for computers or any of your information?
No, they locked down my facility, they locked down my laboratory, they locked down my home. That's where I live. So I was homeless.
Wow. So you've come to America. Now, you don't have a license here yet.
I don't have a license here yet.
I saw some videos and some photos and images where you have people that are passing large masses, and they look like tumors and things like that. When you see it's really graphic. But I've never seen that in conventional medicine. I haven't seen people sort of passing large masses out of their body.
The body can heal, Del. You know, that's the amazing part about our body. You know, all the soldiers that we need, as long as we nourish it, our food is just perfect, almost perfect. You know, we're not eating a lot of sugar. There's low inflammatory substances in our body. Our body has the capability to heal itself. So even if you are stage 4 cancer patient or whatever illnesses it is, either it's vaccine injury, either you had an acute infection or a chronic inflammation or chronic problem as well, your body can protect itself. You can have a nice body. You can have a perfect health.
How do you get there? When someone comes to you and they have cancer or something like that, and you were practicing in the Philippines, you had obviously FDA, everybody's watching what you're doing, but you were having success. I think your success rate of prostate cancer was really, really high, right?
Yeah, when I was in Phil, actually I have a 96% cure rate regardless of stage, you know, and that's one of the best cancer that I can treat. Actually, you know, I'm not saying that all the patient that would come to me, I'm not saying that they all get cured. In fact, I'm telling a lot of people that there are a lot of people who comes to me as well, especially those who are stage 4 that die. But, you know, prostate cancer, that's my best. Another is colon and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I take pride on telling a lot of people that these are the cancers that I think that I can really help.
Do you use chemo or things like that ever?
Do I?
Chemotherapy. Is it? Do you?
Chemotherapy.
Are you an integrative person that uses sort of both, sort of natural and things that you've created along with chemotherapy?
Well, when I was a younger doctor, I believe in chemotherapy, you know, and I would always tell people, you know, go to chemo first and then to natural medicine. And for me, as you know, with my all of my experiences, because I saw around 150,000 patients in my lifetime. This is in 16 years that I have been practicing, and totally, I would never ever tell anyone to undergo chemo, radiation, and surgery only if it's a life-threatening condition. As of right now, that's my stand. My stand also is to not vaccinate my children. In fact, my children, and in the Philippines right now, I always tell them, I did not vaccinate my children, and they're all healthy.
Right. Was the vaccination program forced on you? Was it mandated in the Philippines?
Okay. In the Philippines, it's you know, it's a very complex country because it's very, very poor. And some of the people there, you are not forced, but the government gives you free vaccination. And a lot of people will encourage you, some of the healthcare professionals, they would go in the houses and they would vaccinate. But it's not really mandatory, unlike here. So I think it was a blessing on that part. But then with this dengvaxia, that's the problem there, because there was a time in the Philippines that there were at least 800,000 children that were vaccinated, and that was the dengvaxia, and it was a chaos. It was a chaos that the parents were all scared. Their children would have headache, abdominal pains, and like the ones that I treated, the first one that I treated, she came to me and she was crying because this was her only begotten son, her only son. And this son was having headaches, abdominal pain, wouldn't even go to school, and she said, like, I was just crying every day, doctora. And no one listens, even the government. I think for the most part, for all of these parents, they just wanted to know, what can I do right now?
Instead, I'm sure the government was like, it's not happening, it doesn't exist, we're not going to give you any
And
advice whatsoever.
they keep denying. They keep denying that. I think that's the one that really pisses everyone off, because, okay, there's an injury here. What can we do right now?
Right.
But instead of, okay, this is what you're supposed to do, instead of that, you know what the government is doing? Oh, we didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Now, we were talking earlier, and I'm always going to go to dangerous places because that's what I do. We were talking about measles. And you were saying, people say that nobody dies from measles, but you told me, I've seen people die of measles.
I saw 2 children who died when I was an intern. It was in San Lazaro. It was a public hospital there in the Philippines. And you have all these pavilions. And each pavilion, you actually have at least 100 children that will be confined there. So I was in this, with the measles, I was there. I was an intern there. And I saw 2 children died at the same time. And I was in the middle of them. And I totally understand for a parent, to bring your child in the hospital. You bring your child in the hospital, and unexpectedly, the child dies. Unexpectedly. What are you going to do? Who are you going to blame? And it's a natural reaction to blame the measles vaccine.
Right.
When in fact, the child died in pneumonia or diarrhea. But that time, that child died because of acute respiratory infection, which is a pneumonia.
And did you think that measles was the only thing responsible for the death?
No, I thought it was actually, this is what I was telling my husband. I have a high suspicion that those children died because of nosocomial infection. It's a hospital-acquired infection, especially when you have a viral diseases like that, or if you are diabetic or whatsoever, if these are immunocompromised patients. And most probably, you will have an infection that you will get, a bacterial infection that you will get in the hospital.
Right, so you come in with a compromised immune system that's fighting off a virus or bacteria. And what you're saying, the danger is coming to a hospital where you have these hospital-borne infections. Here we talk all the time about MRSA and CRE, these really hard, more and more antibiotic-resistant issues. And we never hear about that. You die, someone will come in the hospital, perhaps of measles or some other infection, some vaccine-preventable infection, but what they could be dying of is one of those.
You're right. And you would not know. You would not know because autopsy in field, it's actually rare. No one would do an autopsy there because for us Filipinos, I don't know about for other nations, dead is very sacred to us. We would not touch the dead. So we would never know. That's the thing. That's why with the dengvaxia, this is one of the most unique thing that ever happened in the history of medicine or health in the Philippines, because they really did an autopsy and these are confirmed death related to vaccine injury.
How many kids and people are out in villages that are not directly in contact are dying from the vaccine? We have no idea.
We have no idea.
Right.
That's it, because we are not, especially there as well, that's the problem there. The datas are not accurate,
Right.
and I do not, probably here in the US, they're more accurate, but there in the Philippines, definitely it's not accurate.
What's it like? So you come from, you sort of run because you're being threatened, your life's being threatened, you've shut down your practice, so you come to America. Now, you're here in America. I have a show based on the fact, and right now we have laws in multiple states where they're trying to take away your right to choose what's injected into you. What's it like to leave a third world nation? And I'm assuming there's got to be, looking up to America, and to show up here. Do you feel like we're more advanced here? Do you think that there's more freedoms, or are you concerned that you've left one place
to another? Yeah. Actually, I'm very fortunate because Oklahoma gives us the opportunity to choose, okay? So kudos to Oklahoma. I love them.
Indeed. Good job. By the way, good job of Oklahoma. I mean, you've been an
yes.
amazing group there that fights for health rights. And
I love Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think one of the best thing that really happened to me was, and it was a blessing in disguise because Oklahoma has given us that choice, or, for some type of religious exemption, that you cannot vaccinate your children. So I'm very, very happy about that. But this is the first time that I heard in LA, I think they vaccinate, you are obliged to vaccinate. And
Can't go to school.
I think it's unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate for children, for moms, especially those who are not, you're just trying to give the best to your children. You don't want them harmed. And you make decision based on so many things. You make decision because of your doctor. You make decision because of what you studied. You make decisions because, and all of this you have to take into account before you do something to this wonderful kid. That's my precious child. I would not want to hurt my precious child. And it's just unfortunate that you don't have that freedom. If it was me, I'll go there, I'll talk to someone, and I would do the same thing what you're doing right now. I would do what Patrick, what Kathy was doing right now, and what you are doing right now. You're very passionate about it. I mean, thank God for you.
Thank God for you. You are brave. You stood up in a country that doesn't even have some of the protections that we have here in the United States. I will say, I live in the United States of America. I have freedom of speech. Facebook might not like what I say, or YouTube, but right now I still live in a great country. And people say I'm brave, but you are brave. Where do you get that courage?
Actually, they asked me that several times, that I'm brave, but I'm not really brave. I think I'm a coward, actually. And it was just my husband. Because he's like you, an American, so he has, and he's also a Navy. Yeah, so, and I wanted my children to be like him. I wanted my children to have that type of assertion. Like, if what you really believe in, you have to stand up for it. Me, it's just, I was just so scared. When this was happening to me, when I was in the middle of it, I was telling my husband, I said, I was just being raped. I felt that I was raped. I was stabbed. My hair was pulled by several people. It was just horrific. It was just horrific what happened to me. And, I tried to take my strength to my husband. If my husband is there, I said, I'm going to be fine. So he's a wonderful man.
So just very quickly, someone, because you dealt a lot with cancer, used your own modalities and had a lot of success, what would be your advice to someone that's diagnosed with cancer right now?
Okay. Cancer is 96% environmental. Okay, so you just have to change your lifestyle, change your environment, change your water. Maybe your water is contaminated with, like what you said, heavy metals, like aluminum as well. So aluminum is not only found in vaccines. That you can find aluminum as well in your deodorant. You can find as well for, fluoride. You can find it in your toothpaste. It's all over. So it's really very difficult to be healthy right now. I think the question there is that, why don't we have cancer right now?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question. But again, knowing that 96% is environmental in origin, then you have a control. You have a certain control over your illness. So whatever it is, you can always turn it around. You can always make it beautiful. You can always succeed. You can always be above all your illnesses right now. So that's the one. Number 2 is do not eat foods that are rich in sugar. No sugar, because cancer are sugar metabolic. So they love sugar. So they have 96 receptors for sugar. And the normal cells only has 4 receptors for sugar. Imagine, 4 receptors. And these are selective, the normal cells. So if you do not have insulin, if you do not have a mineral, which is chromium, you cannot take in glucose. The cancer cells, they don't need that. They can just eat whatever glucose you have in. It's going to grow big. So knowing that. Second is this exercise. You know, we are now in a society where we do not exercise more. You know, we just sit down, we just, you know, drink some coffee, you know, watch some TV. But we are really an active people. We are active people. We are active individuals. So we have to always walk. We have to always do something. Just be active. And then stress. You know, that's the number one. When this happened to it, that's why I was very emotional when I saw the video. And I think for the longest time, because this is 6 months that I have not been seeing patient, and I saw the video, and I saw this, actually they took a snapshot of a child that I treated with brain cancer, and he came to a lot of hospitals, and this hospital said that he's gonna die. That was the one that made me really emotional. And then that was the one that really made me, oh my God, the stress is just too much. You know, you're seeing a lot of patients, you were exiled from your country, you don't have any of your properties anymore, you don't have any of your patient now. What am I gonna do right now? So I was just so stressed, I was so sad. And then last night, I had the nice talk with my husband's friend, and I realized that I have been repressing all of my emotions. This is actually the first time that I talk about it. The first time that I talk about my emotions, because I never wanted to talk about what happened to me in the Philippines.
Right. Well, I'm glad you've shared your story with us. And I think that, you know, there's a lot to talking to someone like you. I mean, first, we could get into all of the natural health remedies you use and things you do. But I think the story really is, where is America going? What do we want our doctors, how do we want our doctors treated? Because we have doctors that are now being oppressed. Every single doctor that wants to break free of a pharmaceutical modality is coming under massive attack. Yeah. And it feels like we live in a different country. I feel like we are starting to look like a nation that was not founded by people who believed in freedom.
You know, I'm so happy that I'm a medical doctor. Actually, okay, you're gonna be like this, you're gonna be like that. If you're gonna be a doctor, what would be for you to be a doctor? Because there are different ways, you know, you can be a chiropractor, you can be a naturopath, you know. I would always choose medical doctor. I would always choose that profession. But if there's one thing that I will change, I would change how the doctors are thinking. The doctor should think outside the box, because we have always been placed in a box, and it's a system. It's a system that this is the only thing that you're gonna do. You are not allowed to do this, and that. You are not allowed to innovate.
Wow.
Yeah, just innovate, and that's what I did. I innovated like what you are telling all of your listeners, you know, and all of the people that watches your show. Do your research. And there's nothing wrong with that. Why are you being chastised for telling people? Yeah. Do your research.
Right.
I shouldn't, for me, no one should be chastised for that. No one should be said, moron, dumbass, ignorant. Right. No one should, I mean, you should be, I think the problem with us right now is we always talk. We don't really listen. And if I was sitting there and I was listening to you, and I learned so much about vaccine that I didn't know. And it's humbling, because I thought I knew something, and I thought I knew a lot. And actually it's humbling because I know I don't know that much. Well, so thank you.
Thank you, Farrah. Thank you for coming in, sharing this amazing story. You're a hero. I know you're a hero to many people back in the Philippines. I look forward to seeing where your career and your life takes you here in America.
I hope it's going to be nice.
I think it will be.
I hope it's gonna be nice.
Well,
you
because
know?
we're going to win. We're going to make sure that we stay free here in this country, and we start celebrating that word. I love it, innovation. Thank you for being an
innovation,
innovator.
right?
Yes. Thank you, Farrah.